Today's lesson is going to be on an introduction to lateral work. Backed by popular demand, we have JJ, and today she's riding Justin. Now, I say an introduction to lateral work because I think of lateral work sort of in two separate categories. With a big heading lateral work, on one side I put turn on the forehand and leg yielding. And on the other side I put the advanced lateral exercises like shoulder in, haunches in, half pass, walk pirouettes, canter pirouettes. The big difference between the first category of exercises and the second category of lateral exercises can be summed up in one word, and that word is bend. With the beginning lateral exercises, the turn on the forehand and the leg yield, there is no bend through the horse's body, and that's why it's a pretty simple exercise for a horse to do. And I love doing leg yielding. In this exercise, in this tape rather, we're going to just go over the basic aids for leg yielding and show you how to start the leg yielding process. In a later tape, I'm going to show you how to use leg yielding to solve some common problems like horses that have difficulty picking up the correct lead. But just for starting, one of the reasons I love leg yielding is that it's a very good loosening, stretching, toe-touching type of an exercise for the horse. So it's very good as a suppling exercise. And like I said, it's simple for young horses to do because there is no bend through the horse's body, and it's a relatively easy exercise. So what I'm going to do first is go over the aids for leg yielding, and then JJ and Justin are going to demonstrate some basic leg yielding and show you a way that you can determine whether you're doing quality leg yielding or not. And then finally we'll show you some common mistakes that riders make and how to fix them. So let's talk about the aids for leg yielding first. Basically, with a young horse, they learn that a leg on the girth means go forward. When you start the lateral exercises, the horse will be going, hopefully, equally sideways and equally forwards, which means one leg will be on the girth and the other leg will come a couple of inches behind the girth, so that in the language of the horse, you are telling him to go forward and with the other leg sideways at the same time. Now, with a very good leg yielder, your legs could be passively, or should be passively placed in those two positions. So we're going to pretend that we're going to ask Justin to move away from the right leg, which would mean, from the left leg, which would mean that JJ would bring her left leg behind the girth and her right leg would stay on the girth. Since Justin is very educated to leg yielding, her legs could be just resting passively in this position. When you start with your horse, you have to make sort of a value judgment. Is my horse going too much forward and not crossing enough, or is he falling sideways, running sideways, and not going forward enough? Because it should be in equal measure forward and sideways. Depending on which quality is lacking, the leg in the appropriate position goes from a passive leg to an active leg. In other words, if JJ asked Justin to move away from this left leg and he wasn't going sideways enough, with her calf she would go squeeze, release to add more of the quality of sideways. Let's say she was yielding away from her right leg and this left leg was on the girth and Justin was just running straight sideways toward the fence. He wasn't going forward enough. This leg on the girth becomes active, squeeze, release. Your eventual goal, when your horse is very educated, is that the legs just passively lay in position, one behind the girth and the opposite leg on the girth, to tell the horse to go forward and sideways at the same time. Now, the next thing we want to talk about is your seat, is your weight. Horses like riders to be balanced directly above them. And so you want to be sure that you sit in the direction that you want your horse to leg yield. In other words, if we want Justin to move away from JJ's left leg, she should have weight on her right seat bone. Okay, so that he will want to step under her weight, and keep her centered above him. Now, that's a little bit of a challenge for riders sometimes in the beginning, because we have a tendency as the horse moves sideways to get left behind, and then our legs are saying go this way, but our body weight is saying go that way, and we're giving contradictory signals. One of the best exercises I can tell you to think of so that you make sure that you weight the correct seat bone, and another way for you to remember that is whichever leg is behind the girth, that's the leg that's asking the horse to go sideways, you want to put weight on the opposite seat bone. So here's a good exercise so that you learn to sit in the direction you want the horse to go. What I want you to do, JJ, don't get all the way off, but pretend you're dismounting. Start to step down into your left, okay, and just, you see what she's done. She's put her weight into her left iron and she's moved her hip over this way. This would put her body going to the left and would tell Justin to move to the left. Her right leg would be behind the girth. Now I want you to pretend that you're dismounting off the wrong side of the horse. Very good. So it's the same idea. You put weight down into that stirrup, especially if you're doing rising trot, and you put weight on the seat bone in the direction you want to go. So I happen to like that image. When you think about asking the horse to move laterally, think about dismounting to the left or dismounting to the right, and then you will sit in the direction of movement. So that's what your legs do, that's what your seat does. As far as the reins are concerned, remember that I said in a leg yield, the horse's spine is straight. That's why it's an easy exercise. However, the horse does have positioning or flexion at the pole. And the direction we position the horse is away from the direction he's going. In other words, if Justin was going to move away from JJ's left leg, his body would be moving right. He should be looking to the left. In other words, he should be flexed or positioned at the pole to the left. Now I want to show you how to do that. Horses can flex actually 3 ways. They can flex or position their faces to the left, they can flex or position their faces to the right, or they can flex at the jaw and flex in. There's a very different action on the rein that you use to get each of those flexions. The first 2, the flexion at the pole for position left, position right. We go back to our turning of the key. You pretend you have a key in a door. You start with your thumb, the highest point of the hand, and then you turn your fingernails up, and then you finish with the thumb, the highest point of the hand. And you bring that baby finger as close to the withers as possible without crossing over. That's how you would ask for position left or position right. The way you ask the horse to flex in is to vibrate the rein. And I've already told you in previous lessons not to do that, because all you're going to get control over is flexion at the jaw. The horse is going to bring his face in. Now, flexion at the pole is a very, very small thing. So it's absolutely important when you're asking a horse, let's say, to position himself to the left, that's not like Justin is now, that you support with the opposite rein, because if you don't, and you just turn the key in the lock with the left hand, the horse is going to bend his neck, rather than keep his spine, his neck, straight in front of you, and just, in this case, he's looking a little bit to the right, and now he's looking a little bit to the left. When you do position right and position left, the neck doesn't get involved at all. You just rotate the horse's face on the end of his neck. Now this is really important for leg yielding, because if you don't support with the opposite rein, to the degree that you bend the horse's neck in is the degree the horse is not going to cross his legs, and then he loses a lot of the suppling benefits of the leg yield. So those are the aids. You're going to ask for flexion away from the direction the horse's body is moving with your indirect rein. You're going to support with the other rein so you do not get neck bend. One leg, in this case we'll say the right leg, is on the girth to say go forward. The other leg comes a couple inches behind the girth to say go sideways, and you sit on the seat bone that's opposite the leg that's behind the girth. Now the first leg yielding exercise that Justin and JJ are going to demonstrate is a leg yield on a diagonal line pattern. And when we leg yield on a diagonal line, basically the horse's body should be parallel to the long side, parallel to the fence, parallel to the wall, wherever you happen to be riding. However, if we had freeze frame photography, we would see that the front legs, the forehand, should be ever so slightly ahead of the hind legs. And if we were to take a snapshot as the horse comes to the rail, we would see that the front end meets the rail a little bit before the hind quarters. So even though in theory the horse is basically parallel, we do want the forehand to be slightly in advance. So let's just do some leg yields in the walk here. And just start with the center line one, JJ. So you can just walk down the other end, turn down the center line and leg yield to the wall. You see right now she's just going straight ahead, so her legs are side by side. She has equal weight on both seat bones. And now she's going to turn. She's going to ask him to move away from her right leg, so he should be flexed to the right because his body is going to move to the left. Make his neck a little straighter with your outer rein, with your left rein, that a girl, and let the forehand lead just a little bit more. There you go. Perfect. Perfect. So you see her right leg is behind the girth, left leg is on the girth. We had to make a couple little corrections because in the beginning his neck was a little bit too much bent and the forehand wasn't leading a hair. Let's do that once more in the walk. Think about the forehand leading. Turn. You can make a little circle and come back so that you turn down the center line from this end. See, and everything is parallel now. And she's going to keep his neck straight with the left rein. She's going to pretend she's dismounting off the left side so that her weight goes to the left. That's perfect. Her left leg is on the girth. Right leg is behind the girth. Let the shoulders lead just a hair more. There you go. Super. Yeah, good. Now trot, rising, and do the same thing. This is a wonderful, I love using leg yielding in the warm-up. Like I said before, it's a loosening, stretching, toe-touching exercise. Very nice. Yep, good. And then turn down the center line from this end and do it away from us. Keeping the neck very straight with the left rein, but letting the forehand be ever so slightly in advance, pretending you're dismounting off the left side. That looks very good. Very nice. One more time so you can make your way down here. And notice, very good, the rhythm doesn't change. Make the neck straighter with the left rein. There you go. To the degree that the neck is bent at the base of the neck is the degree the horse doesn't cross. And then just bring him up here and hang out for a second. Very good. Good boy, Justin. Okay, so that's the first leg yielding exercise I usually teach a horse, just to give them the idea. But one of the things I don't like about that diagonal pattern, once the horse understands the concept of the leg yield, is that you can basically be going from point A to point B and you think that your horse is crossing and going sideways, but he's really not crossing very high up on his knees or very high up on his hocks. So to do the leg yield in a slightly different pattern, which is a head to the wall pattern, you have two criteria to evaluate whether you're doing a quality leg yield or not. The two criteria are, is the horse's body at a 45-degree angle to the wall? And is he absolutely, of course you can only see what's in front of you, so is he absolutely straight in his neck or is he bending in the neck? As long as your horse does those two things, the neck is absolutely straight and his body is at a 45-degree angle to the wall, he will be doing good crossing. And that will give you, as the rider, the feeling of how much we want the horse to cross as he goes sideways in that first pattern. So could you do that in the walk for us? Head down this long side. And you're going to do a head to the wall leg yield. So since his body will be moving to the right, he should have very good, ever so slightly flexion to the left. Your right rein keeps the neck straight. Good. You see his body is at a 45-degree angle to the wall, and look how much he's crossing. Way up on his knees and way up on his hocks. Can you halt in that position, JJ? Okay, he increased the angle just a hair, but this is a way for you to tell. The two criteria, again, his body is at a 45-degree angle to the wall. His neck is straight in front of her. Now, JJ, walk straight forward, make a little circle, or actually cut across the school. And I want you to do that head to the wall leg yield again, but I want you to bend his neck and let him pop out his shoulder so we can show what happens when you do that. Good. Perfect. That's really bad. Thank you. Keep doing that. Keep doing it. You see his neck isn't straight. He's popped out the shoulder. Now look at his legs. There is absolutely no crossing. And then do it correctly going away from us. That's the point. That's why it is so important to keep the neck straight in the leg yield and only have flexion at the pole. To the degree that you bend the horse's neck is the degree that there is no crossing. Yeah. And he was a little behind her legs, so she gave him a kick so that then she can just let the leg rest quietly, and look how much he's crossing now. Oh, good. No more than 45 degrees. And he's straight in his neck. His body is at a 45-degree angle to the wall. That's very good, JJ. Just let him go straight for a second. And now we're going to show some of the other common mistakes that people make. So just turn down the center line in the walk and let the haunches trail as you leg yield to the wall. Oh, very good. So here, he needs more sideways. Notice her right leg isn't back, asking him to come sideways. So he's not, even though we want the forehand in advance, the haunches were trailing. Come down here. And then as you go away from us, let the haunches lead. So have your right leg a little bit too far back so that the haunches lead. Yeah, you see the haunches are in advance. We want the forehand ever so slightly in advance. Keep going all the way down. Do the next one with too much bend in the neck so we can see that shoulder pop out. That's right. So you see he's bent at the base of his neck. His shoulder is popped to the right. Now make a correction by supporting with the left rein. A little bit more supported there. But his haunches are just slightly leading. Let's try that in the trot now, rising. Just do a normal one, since Justin has been a good volunteer. and shown us all the mistakes, the common mistakes. Let the forehand be a little more in advance. That's right, that's right, super, super. Good, and change direction on the diagonal. Very good rhythm. Remember, rhythm is our first ingredient in the training scale. And just because you're adding a complication like going sideways does not mean the rhythm should go away. And just do a normal center line or quarter line to long side leg yield in this direction. Keeping the neck straight with your right rein, pretending you're dismounting off the right side. Left leg behind the girth, right leg on the girth. Very nice. One more time. Eyes up, looking where you're going. Turn your head to the wall. The horse will, that's beautiful. The horse will always go where you look, and lovely rhythm. And then you can walk and pet him and bring him up here.